This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net. And today I have Tina Boyes with me. And if you don't know who she is, well, you'll be seeing her on screen in just a minute. And I have to give her a big thanks because I came up with this idea a couple weeks ago um, when I was corresponding with Jim Ballard. And I said, what if we found a place where you could do a concert like a drive in theater? And he said, "Oh, great. Can you arrange it?" And I said, "No, it's just my idea." Had no idea what to do with it. So what he did is what he contacted Tina. And Tina, from what I understand, you are a go-getter. So tell the people who you are and what it means that you're a go-getter.
Sure. That's great. That's a great compliment coming from the likes of Jim Ballard. But I'm Tina Boyes. I am the executive director of the Kenmore Neighborhood Alliance. We are a community development corporation here in the Kenmore neighborhood of Akron, which is kind of in the southwest end. If you ask old school residents of Kenmore, where they're from, they typically won't say Akron, but they'll say Kenmore. So there's this real kind of I don't know, real possessiveness of the community and a real pride of place that permeates conversations, people who live here, but people who haven't lived here for 50 years. So there's something special about this place. And we recognize that as residents of the neighborhood and said, man, like if there were this group that paid attention to what's unique about Kenmore, not try to make us something we're not, but what's unique about Kenmore and to build upon that. And for our purposes, focus mainly on our downtown, our little commercial district, which is Kenmore Boulevard. We thought, hey, this is a great place to start, just like downtown Akron, is kind of the core of our city. Kenmore Boulevard is the core of our neighborhood. So we kind of started there and it went on from that.
So I understand a lot of it sort of revolved initially around the Rialto Theater. Is that correct?
So the Rialto Theater contains one of 5 recording studios in a 2.5 block distance on Kenmore Boulevard. This was something that was already happening. Music was already happening on Kenmore Boulevard. We have Lay's Guitar Shop, which has been there since 1962 in one form or another. They were in another building back when I was growing up, but they have a nice, real front and center presence right next door to another guitar shop. The guitar department, they sell new and used, equipment, not just guitars, but pedals and amps and mics and even ukuleles. So, there was something already organic about music here in Kenmore. And the guys at the Rialto, Seth and Nate Vale, young guys from Norton, had traveled the United States and really loved playing in the places like the living room in New York City, the small, really intimate spaces. And they said, we'd love to own a space like this. Where can we find a building that feels like that? And they found the Rialto Theater, an old movie theater, one of 2 that were in the Kenmore Boulevard commercial district at one point. And they said, okay, I think we've got our spot. So from there, things really started to blossom and become more obvious.
Absolutely. So the last time I think I was down on Kenmore Boulevard was back in the 80s, and it didn't look like much in the 80s. In fact, it looked like a neighborhood that you really didn't want to walk around too much. So when did all this construction and rehabilitation take place?
So really, everything kind of started with an event that's called the Better Block. So down in Dallas, there was this guy, Jason Roberts, who lived in a community that used to be like Kenmore, but, had subsequently turned light industrial and nothing pretty. And he and his friends owned properties and wanted to put out flower boxes and outdoor seating, and their city was fining them at every turn. Like it was costing them money to make their area look better. So they decided to go rogue and do an event, do all the fun things they ever wanted to do to their space, invite the city planners to the event to see and feel what it's like when you actually transform a district into what it can be. So they brought that concept to Akron, first in North Hill, then in Middlebury. And then I just kept saying over and over again, Kenmore needs a better block. Kenmore Boulevard is the perfect neighborhood for a better block. And sure enough, we got funding from the Knight Foundation to bring Better Block to Kenmore. And I think it was September 1st and 2nd of 2017. We painted bike lanes on the streets. We put pop-up shops in our vacant storefronts. We got buskers, like talented people who play in bands. We had them playing on street corners with a hat.
Wow.
Like, it was cool and it felt right. It didn't feel fake. And through that process of just identifying what our unique niches are and then really bringing those out to the forefront, people looked around and they felt what it was like. So instead of having that opinion kind of, I grew up in the 80s, I agree, like Kenmore Boulevard wasn't necessarily a place to hang out, but if we can make it feel that way, at least for a weekend, could people see that that was a possibility? So that's kind of where it all started.
Well, it's exciting to me because, I'm not originally from this area. But like I said, when I first moved here, my husband showed me all around Akron and Cleveland. And for whatever reason, he took me down to Kenmore. And it was like, why am I here? Now I'm excited to see how everything has blossomed. And I know a number of performers who in the last year or so have performed at the Rialto. And I wasn't available to go see them. But next weekend, July 3rd, 4th of July weekend, you guys are doing something really special. And I have to thank Jim for taking this vision I had and coming to you and making it come true. So tell us what's going to happen on the 3rd.
Yeah, so on the first Friday of July, which is July 3rd, instead of doing one of our traditional First Friday events, which invites people to come congregate on the streets and shop at the vendors and hang out at food trucks, we said, okay, we can't do that yet. People aren't prepared to do that yet, but what can we do that's big enough to be attractive to come out to, but small enough that people do feel safe and people do feel in control of their environment. So talked to Jim and we said, let's have a drive-in concert. So basically take our busking idea, typically have performers perform for half an hour in front of different storefronts. Let's take it to the back of the buildings. Let's see if the city will let us shut down our 2 public lots behind Lay's Guitar Shop, Live Music Now, and the Dragon's Mantle, and find, a loading dock and put our performers up there, make it a stage. And we actually are bringing in an FM transmitter. So folks in the neighborhood that live within, maybe a mile, half a mile can tune in and listen. Folks who can't attend the event can listen online, but folks who do attend and, maybe don't want to get out of their cars just yet, they can turn it on. They can see it happening in front of them, but also tune in on their FM dial. So we'll be hosting Mark Lee Shannon, who plays in Michael Stanley's band, The Resonators. Love him. He's been a great supporter of the district. Of course, Jim, who everyone knows, a resident of Kenmore, longtime singer-songwriter in the area. Zach, of Zach and the Bright Lights, who is just, a delight to work with. He helped us out a lot down at Live Music Now. We ran a social enterprise, a live music venue for about 6 months. And he really brought the energy and the youth to that. So we're excited to have him. And then also Nate Vale, who is a co-owner of the Rialto Theater, plays in a group called A Band Named Ashes. They will be trading off songs throughout the night, half-hour sets for 2 hours. We start at 6:30, we end at 9. We will also, Karen, this is exciting, we're going to have car hops. So we've got a few food businesses.
Wow.
Yeah, we thought, yes, we want to do music. Music is fun, but First Fridays are about activating our business district. How can we get these businesses to benefit from some of the stuff that we're doing in an event that's more socially distanced? And so we are bringing in students from the Jump on Board for Success culinary program, which we got a grant to help fund. They will be running food from Little Bit Cafe and Pierre's Brooklyn Pizza to folks out in the parking lot. So can come at 6:30, have dinner with your family, and hang out and enjoy some good music.
Well, again, I came up with this idea because I heard a lot of graduations were happening at the drive-in theaters. And then I realized I didn't have any contacts. And when I started making some calls before Jim took it to you, I found out that there was a lot of red tape that you had to go through, which I didn't understand. it wasn't just being able to use somebody's parking lot, but you had to have a permit to be in their parking lot. The police had to be notified just so they understood why there's so many cars in a parking lot. Um, we had to obtain by social distancing, and we had to have people who would monitor that. And my head just like expanded because it was like, I'm one person. I don't know. But yet you have a crew, and I understand a lot of them are volunteers who are working on this.
Yeah, it's all volunteer. I'm the only paid member of the Kenmore Neighborhood Alliance, and yeah, you're right. There's a lot of red tape, but thankfully, we've been working with the city of Akron since Better Block to activate these mostly unused spaces. And let's face it, two huge parking lots with 120 some capacity rarely gets filled in Kenmore. In fact, there's no signage really telling you that these parking lots are back there. So yeah, to get permission, they were super fast. They turned it around in a couple weeks. So, we've been planning this for about 3 weeks once we got permission. So it's one of those things you've got to be ready to go. But I'm grateful that the property owners in the area, the business owners, the city, everyone's been very cooperative. So, and we've done this sort of thing before. We've got some muscle memory with activating the spaces. So I think that's important for areas that want to do this well. Just get your feet wet and do the one thing, and then just keep building on that, because it gets easier and easier. And lo and behold, you can throw an event together in 3 weeks and make it successful.
Well, and we want people to understand that you're asking for donations. You're not actually asking people. There's not a specific amount they have to pay. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're suggesting at least $5 a car, but if anyone knows me and attended a show at Live Music Now, they know that after that event's over, I will get up there and I will go to bat for performers, because in Kenmore, we want people to know they can get paid here. Artists are valued here. This is a neighborhood for artists. So, yes, we would love folks to drop a 5, 10, 20 into a bucket on the way in, but if the music they hear moves them and they want to continue to support the revitalization and the artists in our neighborhood, yeah, we absolutely ask that they reach down in there again and give what they feel is appropriate.
Well, and I think it's really important because this morning I got a message from a contact I have out of New York City. In New York City, as of today, says there are 75% of the performers in New York City who are out of work and may not work for at least another 6 months to a year. And I think we have to think about that, because a lot of times we say, oh, concerts are so expensive. These performers, they're just raking it in. They're not. Okay. They spend many days doing work in their studios. And especially over the last 3 months, they've been working distantly and learning how to use Zoom and Skype and Facebook Live. So they do deserve not only our attention, but also, give them something for it. Okay. If we know that a lot of us aren't working, and when you're not working, even an extra dollar is tough. But you know what? I think we can all find that change at the bottom of our pockets, our purses, or somewhere in addition, our, kitchen, where there is some money. And we want to see these continue. And you won't be able to unless there's some funding for it.
That's exactly right. And, it's a hard time for our artists, because so many of them are live performers and they get their energy off of that. And they're also very conscientious, by singing, they know that there's a risk there to others around them. So they've backed off. And, a lot of them feel very alone right now. And some of them, even those that would normally do a show like ours, I've approached a few people that are like, I just don't have it back yet. Like, I can't even pick up my guitar right now. So now more than ever is the time to show our artists some love, because they've given us so much. I mean, even if they're just background music to a date at, I don't know, music box, whatever it is, like, these are people that have special places in our lives, and their talent is amazing. Northeast Ohio has amazing talent. And I know for us, we always keep the level of quality way up when we do events, because we think it's important to communicate to our neighborhood that they're worth that. But it's also important to communicate to the artists that our residents, our neighborhood will support them.
Well, I am so excited about being there. I don't know if you heard, but my husband and I, um, we do photography, so we are planning on being there with cameras, taking pictures. If somebody doesn't want their picture taken, we understand that, but we're going to get pictures of the concert, of anyone who wants to pose for the night. We're hoping most people will wear their mask because, you know what, we are, as much as we're going to social distance, there may be somebody who's going to come a little closer to you. So protect them, and we want
Yeah.
them to protect you as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, take it off when you're eating.
We talked about this, and we communicated to the city. We will, we don't want the rule. We don't want to have a set of rules that feel onerous, but out of respect for others who may not be in the same place that we are, we just ask that everyone does bring their mask. If they're sitting with their family and directly in front of their car, fine, but if they're doing transactions with food or talking to someone else walking by, or using the restroom or shopping, we absolutely suggest that they do that. We know that it's helped in Ohio. As excited as we are to get out and do things, that keeps us open. And Kenmore wants to stay open. We don't want to be closed again.
So, how many spaces will you have available for this concert?
So in the parking lots themselves, there are 62 spaces. It's first come, first serve. We know there may be some folks in the neighborhood that maybe want to walk up and, distance themselves with some lawn chairs. And we welcome that from people in the immediate area. Again, the great news is this is going to be fairly well broadcast. If you live within a block or so, you're going to hear this anyway. So we believe folks will maybe come out of their back porches and enjoy a drink on their back porch and tune in. But for those of you who can't make it down, and we hope you will, but we understand some of you, are high risk and don't want to do that just yet. We will have this streaming on our Facebook page at Better Kenmore. So, if you feel passionately and you want to support music and our revitalization efforts, there will be an opportunity to donate there as well. So we invite you to tune in.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm very, very excited. I happen to know, obviously, Jim Ballard personally. I know Zach personally. In fact, a number of years ago, we had Zach perform at an Autism Speaks walk. So, uh, I feel a kinship to the two of them. Markley Shannon and I have been trying to get together for 2 years. So this is going to be exciting. I finally get to meet him face to face. And I just learned about Nate yesterday when I was talking to Jim. So
incredible vocalist, by the way. I mean, yes, he plays guitar very well, but a voice you would never expect to come out of him. So you're in for a treat.
Well, for everybody to know, I've been doing these podcasts now for 3 years, and the people in Northeast Ohio are one big family. And I can't thank you enough for allowing us to come into, your environment, letting us speak with you, letting us share events like this, um, because we know a lot of people don't even know what's going on down the street from them. And if we can help spread the news, what a great place to be in the Kenmore neighborhood.
Well, we appreciate you highlighting us, coming down to visit us. I just invite anyone who hasn't been to Kenmore for a few years, come on down and give us another look. There's been a lot of physical changes, but there's also some new businesses and just a renewed energy that I think you have to experience to understand.
Absolutely. Well, again, that's next Friday, July the 3rd. The parking lot's open at 6:30. Concert starts at 7.
Yep.
And if you can't find a parking space because we fill it up, find someplace else to park your car, walk on over, bring a blanket and social distance and enjoy the music.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Karen.
Yeah, I'll meet you in person next week, okay?
Sounds good.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.